To call the meeting to order, please rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. If anyone has their phone, they put it on silence, please, or vibrate. Roll call today. I'm the first one starting, so I'm here. Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Stephen.
Here.
Mr. Culberson.
Here.
Commissioner Cox.
Here.
All commissioners are present. Public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that want to speak at this time, or they want to wait the other one? Okay.
Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Public comment, but in regards to
That would be during the budget.
It'll be during the budget hearing. Okay. I'll call you. I'll recognize you. Thanks for letting me know. Okay.
Do you want me to converse?
I really don't. When would you like to, sir? Is it about agenda item or is it about?
No, it's not. It's about a godly item.
Ring the bells down first. Welcome.
Yeah, well, I find myself praying more and more, and he came down and talked to me last night. He said, you know, the stuff you're talking about, property tax and all this other stuff, he said, I don't have anything to do with that. If you people can't handle it, you got a real problem. The main thing I'm here for, well, one is uneventful. It's how many lawyers are we going to hire? You know, just hired a law firm. County attorney's got a lawyer. The sheriff's got a lawyer. Why don't the other three gals, and the clerk is one, she needs to get a lawyer because she can get a lawyer and you don't have anything to say about it. So I don't know why we don't get more lawyers, and then, as I say, you hire a law firm. But the main reason is property tax. Now, you had two gentlemen, excuse me, Mike. That wasn't you, that was this Mike. Okay. One was a young kid by the name of Tim Johnson. He said property tax is extremely important. My gosh, if it's important, then do something about it. You know, they get up there and they talk and I don't know what they do. They kiss and they hold hands. Mike said the same thing. State has a conflict of interest. I don't know what they're still doing in our building. They don't do anything for us. They work for the state. If there's a protest, I can't come to you guys and say, hey, you know this and this and this. No, doesn't do any good. I got to go to the state. So I don't even know what they're doing here. We ought to be charging them for the rent space because they have a conflict of interest. They get 1.5 mils of everything that is appraised by the counties. 105 counties, multiply it out. That's significant. But county commissioners aren't doing their job. That's 105 counties of them. They're not doing their job. Tell the state what you want done. Don't kiss up to them because they don't care. They like that extra money. I've got 8 protests here. Took me 40 hours to do them because you just don't fill in the blocks. You bring up the data. And in bringing up the data, it took a heck of a lot of time, wasted a lot of sleep. And because my wife, all of a sudden, a landlocked piece of land went up $84, and I said, oh my God, what's this about? Well, the city's thrown on a water runoff fee on every vacant lot. Now, what kind of intelligence is that? Well, it's a money-making thing. That's what the city's about. They're doing away with their good trash department. Going to go paying that to be done. And what do? We're going to every vacant lot. I bet that's an ungodly amount of lots. Well, somebody made a mistake, and now they were investigating it. Don't they investigate before they make these decisions? So I would hope that you would not just say, that's verbiage. Verbiage is worthless. We all know that because people don't know how to take verbiage and make it funny, because they're looking for getting. Thank you. I knew it was up. And that's a violation to me of Amendment 1, taking away my rights to be able to converse, but it's no big deal. You need to get on the property tax.
Do you have a copy of our legislative agenda that we gave to the legislators? If you don't,
all
Mark.
I have is a copy of the article that was in the paper.
Okay, if Mark can provide you with a copy. We did specifically ask the legislators to make a change in the property tax law. And they're the ones that, of course, control it.
Yeah, they control it. But we have avenues and things we can do. I don't know what they're still doing in the building.
And
They ought to be out in some other building or paying you rent. Not Bob himself personally.
Thank you, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
Administrative business. Mark, do you have anything?
Just to remind everybody, the holiday schedule for the courthouse, it'll be closed Friday and Monday. There's no surprise there, and I think some of the offices are closing tomorrow because of weather. That's up. Those offices have made that decision. Have not made a decision on whether all the county offices will be closed or not. And then just tell everybody Merry Christmas. We won't meet again until after Christmas, so Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Hope the road department's not closing.
Nope.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Commissioners, any commissioner have anything on this portion?
a couple questions.
Mike, go ahead.
This is for David. With a fire district being established under the provisions of the state statute, do the parts of the law that allow for taxpayers to protest a mill increase, to those when taxes are raised, there's provisions that allow you to protest that. Are those incorporated into the interlocal agreement, or do those have to be added to it?
Commissioner, you're asking me to answer basically what amounts to a theoretical question. I am aware that there's discussions between two townships and a city regarding the formation of a fire district. That has not been officially brought before this board. When it is, those types of issues could be addressed, but they'd really be driven by the constituent requests between the township and the city.
So, but they could be added to the local agreement.
No.
Parts of the address
An
taxes.
interlocal agreement could not create an election process.
No, not an election process. I'm talking about taxes.
Taxing authority.
Taxing it.
The fire district has statutory taxing authority that has a limit upon it. An interlocal agreement could cap that at a lower level.
Okay, that's basically what I had. The other thing I had was it's for a constituent of mine in the district. On channel, I guess it's channel 4. The governor's office said, this is a quote from the governor's office, Governor Kelly has received letters and her office has spoken with members of the Leach family who have offered suggestions for finding Randy. The governor's office has explored those suggestions, which are determined to exceed the office's purview, Office of Governor Kelly. And my constituent, Alberta Leach, says Alberta would like to make clear that she has not spoken with the governor's office, nor has anyone in her family spoken with the governor's office regarding the disappearance of Randy Leach. And that's what she's been trying to get done for the last 3 years, and the governor will not meet with her. So for the governor's office to put this out, that they had spoken to her, I think that's egregious, and I think it should be called out. That's it.
Just heard from a few people that thinks the county has a pot of money sitting somewhere that we can pave a bunch of roads. And if we do have that money, I'd like to know where it's at, because I'd like to pave some roads too. I believe the only road that we're going to be paving in 2023 would be the one in First District. And there's no other monies.
So that's what
Unless I'm wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, I wish I was wrong.
Into the rainbow.
I think
There's a pot.
That's what I've been going on.
Okay, because I just want to make sure I'm putting out accurate information. I mean, I was here at all the budget meetings and hearings, and there was just no extra money for paving roads. And we need to pave some roads, but we got to figure out a way to fund it.
Yep.
So,
Okay. Anything else, Dave?
No, I'm just glad that Mr. Clint thinks I'm warm and fuzzy and kiss up to the state.
I don't think he heard you.
Don't
Okay, don't get him started.
get your coffee.
Okay.
Did you give anything,
No.
Jeff? Okay. Moving right along. The consent agenda, any item on the consent agenda need to be pulled? If not,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
motion is second. Aye, Commissioner Smith.
All right.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson.
Aye.
Commissioner Collins.
Aye.
All right, formal board action. Consider a motion to approve Board Order 2022-7 granting disaster relief tax abatement to 2 homes destroyed by fire. Come on down. Good morning.
These are 2 properties that were destroyed by fire. The second one actually was the 10,420 was destroyed by fire in 2021. I have that some abatement for the 21st, for the 2021 tax year. The other one was destroyed by fire this year, and because it was destroyed after August 15th, it's a tax credit against the next year's 2023 taxes. These both meet the criteria, and we are what we're proposing is prorating them off the day of the disaster, prorating the taxes off for the building that was destroyed.
Okay.
Do these need a separate motion?
We have one motion for the board order,
Okay.
and then the chairman usually signs each
Okay.
order.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Are these both in your district?
Yeah, I believe they're mine.
Both of them are.
I can make the motion.
Okay.
Motion to approve Board Order 2022-7 granting disaster relief tax abatement to 2 homes destroyed by fire.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion on that? Aye, Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson.
Aye.
Commissioner Collins.
Aye.
Okay, now we're to the amended 2022 Liberal County budget. Open the public hearing. Come on down, sir. Good morning. Do I have to have a motion to open that, guys? Or can I just go into it?
No, you just open
Oh,
it.
that's what I thought. Okay. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, commissioners, and I guess the cameras here, fellow citizens and taxpayers. Please excuse me, I'm going to read a lot of this. I didn't have time to prepare the longer, more elaborate speech probably everybody was hoping for. Not as organized as Janet. We've got a bunch of grandkids coming in, and I think she's got hers underhand, and we're still prepping for ours. But anyway, my name is Eric McMillan. I live in Easton Township, Mr. Culbertson's district. And as I understand it, today the Board of County Commissioners is holding a public hearing, on amending the 2022 budget. What the amendment looks like it will involve is at least $9.399 million, or over 13% of the 2022 county budget of about $67 million, if I read everything correctly. Commissioners, I'd like to encourage you to take a little time at the start of this hearing before discussing and debating and deciding the amended budget to describe for us, the citizens, taxpayers, what this amendment is about, where the relevant monies are coming from, what the money is going to be spent for, and finally, what impact it'll have on our 2022 tax bills. I was looking at the Board of County Commissioners public comment policy on the internet, on the website, and it said Leavenworth County Board of County Commissioners recognizes the importance of an engaged public. I would hope we could all agree that the first step in having a usefully engaged public is having a relevantly informed public. I've got a high school education, and after seeing the hearing packet and the materials that by law are required, the notice in the Leavenworth Times, I really had the vaguest idea only of what the amendment is about, where the relevant monies are coming from, what the money is going to be spent for, and what impact it will have on our 2022 tax bills. Fortunately for me, and me only perhaps, Commissioner Culberson took about 30 minutes of his time Monday night to explain this to me. I would ask, request, for the sake of everybody else in the county, fellow taxpayers, that the commission would again take some time at the beginning of this meeting to discuss what this amendment is about, where the relevant monies are coming from, and what the money is going to be spent for, and finally, what impact it will have on 2022 tax bills. Doing this, I think, would be a good first step towards much-needed greater transparency in the county's budget and tax levy process. Thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Merry Christmas. Well, just to go a little, one step further than that, I appreciate your comments. County Administrator and I had a conversation the other day, and we had planned on discussing these issues because you're correct. We want to make sure everybody understands. Of course, we all know that every year counties and cities, I wouldn't call it, say, cleaning up, but if they've got any additional funding or money that was surprised or spent, they have to amend the budget. So, Mark and I have talked about this, and I know he wanted to talk about a couple of these things, just to explain what they were. So, Mark, if you would like to step in.
Commissioners, I think it'd be appropriate to finish your public hearing before we get into that discussion.
Okay.
And some of this goes back to when we were doing the budget.
Oh, I know. I know.
We want a certain percentage carryover to plug in to start these budgets.
And that's what I think everyone needs to
And
know.
that's where it came from.
Okay.
That's where some of this is from.
Okay, well, then I'm
Another.
Oh, yeah. Mr. Clement?
I like budgets. I talked to county administrator some time ago, and we were talking about, I don't know what this little sheet of paper is on your agenda. It says there's 9 point, excuse me, the eyesight is not where it's supposed to be, 9 point something million dollars. And I thought that was the money that we'd gotten from Uncle Sam. When he got so many trillions of dollars, they're just spreading it around, and I thought that was the money that we were talking about. And I don't know if that's the money we're talking about. Only the administrator can verify that, because I thought that's what he said. But if we got that much money sitting there, we've had it for I don't know how long, and we haven't gotten it spent, surely there's a cutoff time. And it is required that money is spent on specific things. It's not good for roads and bridges and all that. So what we don't spend in that certain amount of time, and they'll allow us breaks and this and that, but somewhere we'll have to return what's left over, and then they'll have extra money. So I think it would be very good if somebody at a public meeting, and I know you need to get this done, but somewhere there needs to be some explanations rather than just automatically doing something. And I think the gentleman said for the 2022 budget, and I don't know, I think it would be, you're adjusting it for the 2023, aren't you? No, it's the 2022. So we're adjusting it for, what is today, the 21st, 10 days. So you can, but then there will be another adjustment next year because we won't get that money spent in that amount of time if there's that. So I think it's very beneficial. That way there should have been 15,000 protests to tell the state what to do. The people need to be informed. You know, I've always said, let's don't talk about mill levies because the average person doesn't know a dang thing about a mill. Let's talk about, well, the budget went up $3 million, not how many mills. So I think his point is very good. Let's get the citizenry involved in their lives rather than where we're going to eat tonight and stuff like that. There are some very important things.
Thank you, sir. Okay, if no one else has to speak, I'll close the public hearing. And Mark, is this one you wanted to?
Sure. Commissioners, you have the proposed amendments in front of you. This is end of year cleanup. We do this pretty much every year. There are certain funds that throughout the year they're not typically budgeted like the American Recovery Act funds because they're grants that came in that we weren't expecting, or because you have expenditures that you're not aware of until you have a time to go out and bid those projects. And so at the end of the year, you approve the expenditures throughout the year, but at the end of the year, you're required to have a public hearing in order to make an official budget amendment for those. So the 9.399, basically $9.4 million, that is American Recovery Act funds. Those are projects that you've approved over the course of the last really 18 months. And we're just wrapping those up. Sales tax, another one that those funds go strictly to road improvements. There are no operational expenditures that come out of the sales tax. They don't pay for wages or benefits or anything like that. And we do a budget based on what we think is going to come in and what projects we have on the agenda. And sometimes the sales tax collections are higher, and we then move that money into the capital reserve for those road projects, and that's what this amendment takes care of at the end of the year. The 911 taxes, similar. Again, at the beginning of the year, you really hard to project what those expenditures might be for 911 costs. None of these, by the way, are related to property taxes. These are all special taxes that have to be spent in a certain way. And the bond and interest, if you recall, we did a refunding, and there was $30,000 that has to be paid to basically close out the last bond. So those are the amendments that you have before you. I know that is relatively quick. If you have questions about any specific item.
That bond interest, we did that because we could lower the rate and we got a better return on what we were doing.
The refinance, yes, we did the refinance, and this is just following up and finalizing.
I think, what was that, 800,000?
I believe that's correct on what we saved.
Okay.
Over. Yeah.
Basically, a wash when they sold the bonds early,
Yeah.
didn't use them.
Yeah, I know.
We all got
we fixed
here.
that. We fixed that. Okay. Commissioners, y'all have any other questions?
I don't.
Mike?
Just to clarify what you've just said, so our bond and interest that we adopted in our budget, we were showing bringing in the $2,058,000, but we actually brought in. Is that
No, you don't. You don't bring money in on the bond and interest because it's not a tax. It's not a property tax. It's a transfer from the sales tax because the bonds are sales tax funded bonds. So you have to make payments. Obviously, it's a debt,
Right.
and there was a $30,000 administrative fee that had to be added to this year. So that's
where that came from. So
Yes.
that's adding a fee to it.
Yes.
Okay, and then explain the 911. Explain the difference on that one?
Again, those are special taxes that come in that have to be spent on 911 expenditures, and as they go through the year, depending upon radios or other agreements that have to be funded, those have to come back.
And those aren't paid through sales tax. Those are paid when you use your cell phone.
Yeah.
You pay a penny every call you make, basically, and it goes to that 911 fund. But
So we showed in our budget that it was going to bring in 536.
And again, it's not what it's bringing in; it's what's expended.
Well,
So
we
what
showed in
we
our
showed
budget.
was there was going to be $536,000 worth of expenditures, and when they get to the end of the year, they needed basically $611,000 to finish out the year.
Okay. And then the difference on the American Recovery Act,
Well, the American Recovery Act is the one that the grant funds that came in.
the ARPA.
Yeah, so we didn't budget for that because, again, you don't know if they're actually going to come through. Sometimes, similar to some of the money we used to get from the state that we no longer do. You never know when it's going to actually come through. So,
Do it hits the books.
So, but what I'm trying to get at is the difference. There's a little difference there. What is that difference?
Well, there was some
on the American
unexpected
Recovery
repairs.
Act, it's the entire amount.
Okay.
On the 20-year sales tax, there's a difference because of what was actually collected versus what we anticipated was going to be.
Budgeted for.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I was looking at the wrong line.
878,000 is the difference, and that's one thing I was going to point out is, like Eric was talking about, it looks like a $9 million adjustment, but all this really is we had to predict what we thought was going to come in these three accounts. And then at the end of the year, we had to actually settle up on what really did and how much we really needed. So really, the difference if you take out the ARPA funds is only an $800,000 adjustment. It's not a $9 million adjustment if you don't talk about the ARPA funds. And this is what we do every year for these three line items. You project what you think you're going to use, and then at the end of the year, you have to settle up what you actually did.
Yeah.
And that's actually $800,000 difference is what we're actually adjusting.
And on that sales tax, because it varies every year how much we bring in on that.
The sales tax varies. That's the one that has usually the largest. I mean, with taking out the grant funding, obviously, the sales tax is usually one that has the largest adjustment, just because we are pretty conservative in our forecast, because we don't want to overestimate and then get to the end of the year and have a shortage. So we underestimate typically, and then we adjust it at the end of the year. Again, those sales, all of these are what's considered like special revenue. It has to be spent in a certain way. There's no operational expenditures out of any of those funds. Well, the 911 taxes there would be, but it's all special revenue. It's allocated to certain expenditures, and it has to meet those expenditures. None of it is property tax related.
Janet, did you have anything you wanted to say? Or has it all been said?
No, I do think it's important to recognize that none of these are levied funds, as Mark indicated. None of it will impact any of the department's budgets for 23, because these are all special funds.
That's what we've heard. Okay.
Maybe next year we can fill that other line item here for local ad valorem tax.
Parties on me if we do.
So a discussion like that, does that help?
Get it on the air.
Does that help with the understanding?
I'd like to add two things to my comment. Thank you very much. I think that's a very good discussion. As I understand it, we're all paying our 2020 tax bills right now. First payment was due a couple weeks ago. The other thing I'd like to add or suggest,
Hey, if you're going to continue, Mike, ask these questions. I need you to come up here. So we won't get you on camera, okay?
We just need you on the microphone so that it can be heard.
A robust camera then. The two things I would say is thank you. That was very good. And two, I would recommend, request that perhaps we put that what was just here encapsulated in a couple, 3 paragraphs before hearings like this to let everybody know kind of what's going on. Because I think I went into this thinking, well, we got an extra $9.399 million, and that wasn't the case, and that it might impact the tax bill, and that wasn't the case. So
when you walk through it, it's a lot clearer. You're absolutely right. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay. Need to consider a motion to amend the 2022 Leavenworth County budget as presented by the county clerk.
So moved.
And second, any more comments? I vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Stephen?
Aye.
Commissioner Culberson?
Aye.
Commissioner Collins?
Aye.
It is approved. Thanks, everybody. Okay, presentation discussions.
Let's see, I went to the Mark meeting yesterday, pretty good meeting. Ed Eiler's last meeting.
He's an institution.
44 years as an elected official.
Is that right?
Yes.
How old is he?
I have no idea.
110.
But like I said, I've met him probably in the 90s, mid-90s, and he's just been so great for Johnson County. I'm sure he's not going away. I'm sure he's going to be around on a lot of committees and everything. But it's just amazing that that man has that many years as a public servant.
That is a long time.
A very good public servant. At Bayshore City Council last week, Fairmount's rescheduled their meeting for tomorrow night for next week. And let's see what else. Got a retirement deal to go to today out the road department. Rex Zabel's retiring.
Congratulations.
I believe he started about 1999 or 2000, somewhere around in there. He's going to get one more snow in, though.
We're all done.
I think that's about it.
Mike?
Oh, and Crystal's today.
Yeah, 2 o'clock.
Crystal's is today also.
Yeah. We will miss her. Mike?
Just a couple things. Visited with the Sherman Township coordinator for this fire district, Mr. Jim Watson. We had a conversation, and that's moving along. And I do want to express my appreciation to County Councilor all that he's done to kind of facilitate that process. He's really helped them, and I think it's going to be a really successful fire district once it gets going. Meeting with the LCDC chair and a couple other economic development people for lunch today.
Thank you, Mike. Jeff?
I just had the Mark meeting Doug was talking about. I went to too, and the main thing that I picked up from that, they talk about employee retention is the biggest problem facing almost everybody, government side, private sector side, everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's going to get worse before it gets better. Leavenworth City meeting last night. Vicki went to that too, so I'll let her talk about that. I think they did a good thing last night.
Yeah, I know there's two of you guys going in. I thought that was too.
Yep. And the last thing I just wanted to talk about, expand on something Louis commented about, was the state renting space in the county buildings. If you really want to break it down, and a lot of people don't talk about this, state unfunded mandates. I was putting together some figures to see exactly how much of our county budget, which is about 25% of people's taxes, goes to the county. About half of that are state unfunded mandates, and people don't realize that. But half of our county budget we wouldn't even have if it wasn't for state unfunded mandates, things that the state makes the county do without funding it. So the county has to come up with the money by state statute, but the state doesn't pay for any of it. So if you remove the state unfunded mandates.
Did you figure noxious weeds also, that we have to subsidize the
chemicals? Almost every department has some sort of state unfunded mandates, and it equals about half of our county budget. So we could cut our county budget in half if the state wouldn't come in here and tell us, you have to do this, but you have to come up with the money for it. We're not going to pay for it.
Yeah. That's a shame. Okay, Vicki?
I would have had a workforce partnership meeting this morning, but they rescheduled it, and it was 8 o'clock this morning, so I didn't get to attend that. And last evening I did go to the city commission meeting, which was it was a very interesting meeting, and Commissioner Hengula did step aside, and then Jermaine Wilson was nominated and approved and voted on as the mayor for the city of Leavenworth. So congratulations this week to Commissioner Wilson, Mayor Wilson now. And I think that's all I had this week.
You know, the one thing that everyone knows that Mayor Wilson now and I are very close friends. It shows you when and I've heard Louis say it, and I've heard Wes, and I've heard other people. It shows you what can happen when the people get together and decide they want to make something happen. And some of the things we talk about here today is exactly examples of people wanting to get together, and it can get done, but it doesn't get done by itself. Okay, I'm just going to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and I know we got executive session, so Doug, you want to take us into that guy?
Sure. We'll start with the legal one first. We have two today. I move that the board recess for a closed executive meeting for the discussion of pending litigation involving the legal interest of the county as justified by KSA 75-4319B. 2, for consultation with legal counsel for the board, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship, and that the board resume open meeting at 9:50 in the meeting room of the board. Present in the executive meeting will be Commissioners Culverson, Cause, Mike Smith, Doug Smith, and Commissioner Stevens. Senior County Counselor David Van Perry's and County Administrator Mark Lawfrey.
Second.
Motion and second. Aye, Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Aye.
Commissioner Culverson.
Aye.
Commissioner Cause.
Aye.
Let the record show the board has returned to regular session at 9:50. No action was taken. No decisions were made. The subject was limited to the legal interest of the county.
All righty.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the board recess from an open session and go into a closed executive session to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel as justified by KSA 754319B1, and to protect the privacy interest of the persons involved, and that this board resume open session in the meeting room at 10:20. Present in the executive session would be Commissioner Jeff Culverson, Vicki Cause, Doug Smith, Mike Stevens, County Administrator Mark Lawfrey, and others as invited by the board.
Second.
Motion and second. Vote aye, Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Connors?
Aye.
Let the record show the board returned to regular session at 10:20. No action was taken, no decisions were made. The subject was limited to non-elected personnel.
All righty, thank you. I think we've already went around the thing with the county commissioner, so Mark, do you have anything for the group before we adjourn? Take a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Vote aye. Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Stephen?
Aye.
Mr. Culberson?
Aye.
Mr. Collins?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
And Merry Christmas.
Merry
Yeah.
Christmas.